Well, if you've ever used or had an interest in using artificial intelligence to try to help you out with everyday tasks, things you might do around the house, or things you might do in the realm of education for yourself or your kids, you're going to want to listen to this program. My daughter comes on and she shares her experience with actual use of AI, particularly ChatGPT, in order to help herself with day-to-day tasks as well as her nursing program. So stay tuned and you'll enjoy this program. Thanks. Well, today I have with me my daughter Stephanie. And hi, Stephanie. We
Hi.
are here to talk about. I had warned this ahead of time when we covered the subject of AI or artificial intelligence that I'd like to bring on someone who has real world experience. Stephanie is exactly that. She has used the artificial intelligence tool called ChatGPT for a lot of things. And this show is really to talk about that. Stephanie, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit and tell the folks here your background?
Hi, I'm Stephanie. I'm living in North Carolina. My family, my husband and I were missionaries, and we live out and serve at a base here in the Charlotte area. And right now, I am going back to school to become a nurse. I'm already a LPN, licensed practical nurse, and I'm doing a one-year program to take me to an RN program to become a registered nurse. And I have three kids. And so really what led me to ChatGPT was needing to be able to study as efficiently and effectively as possible.
Yeah, and I just love that you have found a real home, a real place where you can get useful information out of ChatGPT and artificial intelligence. And I was hoping that you'd share that with our audience today. Before we dive deep into the nursing school program that you have, what are some ways that you've actually used ChatGPT in your life aside from nursing? I know you talked to me about a few of those things.
Yeah, just to clarify, I'm not any kind of tech person at all. In fact, I have to call my dad a lot to be able to get some help on tech things too. But this is an area that I've just been able to feel like I can get a lot of use out of. Um, so, um, some of the ways, well, first, when I heard about ChatGPT, I just heard of and thought of it. I think a lot of people did. It's just kind of like a sophisticated, like a Google search, right? That instead of typing it into the Google bar, I could say, you know, um, tell me some, what is the national animal of Spain or something like that. I could search it up online. Instead of searching online, I could ask ChatGPT. But I've really began to see with time that there are a lot of things that you can do with it. A lot of the ways that ChatGPT is not just answering a question, but actually helping and coming along kind of like a little assistant in your life. And so here's a really simple example I just thought of just now. I wanted ChatGPT to help me think of some ideas. My daughters get up really early for breakfast, I mean for school. And so they're often really kind of groggy and need some quick breakfast options. And so I was trying to brainstorm like a little chart that they could pick ahead of time the night before which breakfast option they would want for them in the morning, whether it be toast or cereal or oatmeal or something like that. And so I was trying to ask, I decided to ask ChatGPT. I went in there and said, Chat, you don't even have to say chat. You can just start typing in there. Make me a visual chart with the breakfast options that I can make available for my daughter that I want to put onto the fridge. You don't have to write all that, but for some reason, it just seems like it flows sometimes to start sharing the whole situation. And it starts thinking, and pretty soon it pops up with this cute little chart that I can put a magnet that my kids in the night before can put a magnet on the breakfast option that they would like for them the next morning. Um, Kind of going along with food, you can tell that I'm a mom and uh, wife. I love to cook, but I sometimes get stuck for fresh ideas. And so I could say to it, give me a list of 20 different meal ideas. I want them to be simple, low budget, quick cleanup, and all the ingredients available at Aldi, which is my favorite store to shop at. And it will spit out in a matter of seconds 20 ideas just like you ask. Now, I might think to myself, a lot of these sound like tacos. Several of these kind of sound too similar to each other. My family doesn't really like Mexican food. Not true, but let's hypothetical. Then I can literally just write back to the chart, in the little chat box underneath. I don't want anything Mexican inspired, or my I'm allergic to shellfish, no fish, or any kind of feedback, and it will just come back right at you with a new, corrected, updated list. And you can say, you know, I want them to be more, healthier. I want them to be whatever. You can just start giving it feedback, and it will not tire of continuing to respond to you in as you refine. It will work with you. So it's like a tool, like I said, like kind of an assistant that works together with you to get to the result that you like.
Yeah, this is a kind of a good point that's worth emphasizing is the big difference between search and artificial intelligence as a tool. And this is not unique to ChatGPT. It's also common with the Google tool now, which is built right into the search engine. There'll be a place where you'll see the results and it'll give you option to go into something called AI mode. And that will allow
Mhm.
you to get into this interactive discussion. And that's really the unique part when you do a search in Google or any other search engine, you get a one time result. And if you do another search, you get another one time result. This is a dialogue where you can refine
Mhm.
your the feedback that you're getting, refine your question, and further delve deeper into the topic. And I think this is really one of the big added values that come from artificial intelligence that a lot of people could benefit from. And so that's why and I also emphasize the fact that it's not just ChatGPT. We're not selling a ChatGPT promotion here.
Mhm.
It just happens to be the tool that Stephanie has used the most. But there are other tools that are out there. I've talked about that on my other show. If you want to go back and get the primer, you can hear the podcast on artificial intelligence that I talked about all the different tools that are out there, or at least the top ones. Okay, Stephanie. So besides this meal planning thing, anything else that comes to mind when you talk about broader
Um,
topics?
yeah, I was just thinking right now, another one that I just used the last week, and this goes into a little bit more of the tools that that AI offers, is I had a tree that looks like it's kind of dying out front. And I'm trying to figure out, well, what's going on. Is it normal? This is our second winter with this. It's like a juniper. And I'm figuring out, like, is this normal for this tree to look like this? Kind of like brownish, or like at this point in the year? Do I need to do something? And so I started asking it, hey, this is the kind of this juniper, it's 18 months old, it's going through the second winter. Um, it's looking brown on the back. And then I thought, I'm going to take a picture of this tree and send that along with my sentence, with my description, and look for some feedback. And sometimes I'm surprised. I'm kind of like, is this going to be able to help me in this situation? But it immediately was starting to give me some suggestions and kind of a plan on how to care for us. And the interesting thing is, it also asks me questions back. It says, "Well, if you would tell me a little bit more, is it shade? Is it sun? How often is it getting water?" And it will start to like ask me. You don't have to give it more information, but you can start to give it more. It says, if you tell me this, I can give you more accurate, more precise feedback.
Mm.
Now, to be warned, I'm not sure that every single time I mean, it's artificial intelligence. Even a person isn't going to be able to tell you for sure whether your plant is going to survive or not. I've had the same thing happen where I one time was asking it for feedback on a dishwasher, and the trick it gave me did not work. So it is not foolproof, but it's a good place to start.
Right. I think that's an
Another,
important point. Just before you
go
jump
ahead.
on any further, uh, really, really important message that you just brought out there. So I'm going to re-emphasize it. None of these tools are correct all of the time, and so they do have warnings that go along with them that to be aware that they do sometimes go insane or they don't give you what is correct. They're not really intelligence. I mean, what's behind these tools is a predictive language tool that if based on the questions that you're asking, you get this feedback that says what they think that your words would most likely want to see in the results. It's not really applying human intelligence by any means. And so a lot of times they're wrong because it's based on what it thinks and it's not always correct. So that's the warning that I would put out there, just as you said, Stephanie. Be careful about not relying too much on the feedback that you get.
Yeah, and that I would say is one of the areas that's like something like I explained with the tree or the dishwasher, it doesn't shine as much, I feel like. I feel like my experience, ChatGPT has really excelled with things like help with might be something like organizing my day in the most useful, the most beneficial way possible. I might have a bunch of to-dos. I don't even know where to get started. And I say, here's the things that I want to do, accomplish today. Can you help me put this in order that would um, maybe maximize my effectiveness on these um,
Yeah.
or maybe like here's some things that I might have for goals for the year. Can you help me word this in a way that would really help me hone in on what I want to get done? Things that would be less diagnostic, I feel like, and like the meal planning. Along with the meal planning, it was reminding me not just meals that I like, but I was mentioning to you earlier off the air an example of I really have seen a lot of ads for a type of meal company called Factor Meals, and they're more high protein, low carb, like meals, and you get them in a meal service in the mail, and you pop them in the oven or whatever. And they appeal to me, but they're expensive for me. And so I want to make my own. And so I said, can you give me some ideas for factor inspired meals? And I don't need a lot of instructions, just keep it real simple. And sure enough, it came out with a bunch. And then I was like, oh, these are so good. Can you do it for breakfast for me now? And then one of the interesting things that I wanted to add on is that it will respond right in a chat box, but you can ask it to make you a document, make it printable for you. So I get a list of 50 meals that I want to have printed out and keep in my kitchen in the cabinet for when I'm looking for some inspiration. So I'll say to it, after it gives me the meals I like, I'll say, put it in a Word document for me or put it in a PDF so it can be printable. And actually, I think this has even really improved recently that you can more easily share things by clicking. There's a little button that says share on the top of your response often when it gives you something like that. Or you can just ask it to, and it will spit out right in the conversation a little downloadable Word document that then you would click and download that. You'd open up in your Word document and then you can print it. You can change anything you like. You can change the font, change, make it smaller, make it bigger. So that was one thing I want to add.
Well, it's good that you talked about the fact that they've had some improvement lately because I experimented with some of that stuff and tried to get it to create Excel documents, which are spreadsheets for me. And when I saw the results of it, it was not useful at all. They didn't do a very
Yes,
good job of
yes.
formatting it. So uh, realize that a lot of this technology is emerging. And so because of that, there's still a lot of improvement to be made. You may try something one time and then a few months later, if you try it again, it may work better for you.
Yes, the charts, I will say, are the tables it ever makes like as a little like a table format. They're terrible in my experience. They're cut off weird. They're not well aligned. Actually, here's another totally random, different example. My son was wanting a little workout routine. And so he wrote one on ChatGPT and asked it to help him. Here's the types of exercises he likes to do. And he'd like it to make, in this case, a chart to tell him what exercises to do on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday in order to rotate his muscle groups. Well, the chart I would not recommend at this moment in 2026, early 2026, things change quickly, making a chart because it was all jumbled up. But it's a good application as another idea, with the a workout type thing. But yeah, right now charts do
Mhm.
not seem to be its forte. Also, that breakfast chart that I mentioned for that it made for my daughter and my for the breakfast, it did they have cute little icons, a cereal bowl, toast, but the cereal bowl has two spoons in it. So
That's such a
so
classic
it's not quite there yet.
example of the kind of mistakes that because we're not, you have to proof, you have to check anything that you get back from these tools to make sure that they are correct. Otherwise, you'd be very surprised at some of that, like the two spoons. It's classic. That's really great.
Yes,
Great example,
absolutely.
Stephanie. What about writing? You mentioned writing and communication as a possible use. You have any
Yeah, and
examples
this is
for that?
another one that I'd say that it works well to me because there's still that human check factor, which is so, for example, sometimes you might be writing an email. Let's say you're writing an email to your insurance company and you're trying to describe some situation that happened and the facts, and you're kind of getting the order and you're not expressing yourself well. Well, um, you can take that email, copy and paste it, and then open up your browser of ChatGPT and drag and drop that I mean, copy and paste that text right in, and then tell it, make this text clearer, or make it more concise, or make it into bullet points instead, or whatever you're looking to get. Or you could just say edit it for clarity, or whatever you would like the help with, as if you had a friend who was really good at grammar, really good at writing, and they were going to look it over you. What would you be telling? What command do you want of this? And within seconds it will send you a new copy, a new version of it, right into your
Hmm.
chat gpt. um, and then again, you can give it feedback. You could say, oh, it sounds too formal. Make it more informal. This is just to a friend. Or, I mean, I guess, well, the reason I was thinking of a friend, I'll tell you a story about that in a second. But, or you might say, oh, but clarify more about this aspect. Or, like I said, the formal, informal, that do use that function a lot to say, make it more informal, make it more formal. Make it shorter, make it longer, or anything you can think of that you would give feedback to an editor. And I was going to say about the friend just the other day, this is a perfect example of why you might even use it when you're sending something to a friend. A friend asked me to send her a recipe, and it was a recipe I know by heart, one I've never used measurements for. But so I started to write it out and describe it, and it was turning into this giant paragraph. And I was like, this looks really hard to use as like a recipe. So I
Hmm.
just took it, drag and copy and paste it into ChatGPT and said, make this much easier to follow. Use the same basic information I'm sending you. Like, don't change the recipe. Just make it easier to follow. And it wrote it out in 6 little steps. And it was so nice. I could just copy and paste it right back into the email I was sending her.
That's great. That's great. Two things come to mind that you mentioned that I thought I would throw in here. One is that you are using the web browser. In other words, you can do it right from the ChatGPT homepage on the internet. But there's also an app that you can download. Everybody knows about apps on their phones. You can download the ChatGPT app, and then because you sign into it from both your home screen as well as on your app, it will remember the different questions that you've asked it across both platforms, and you can just pick up where you left off from a prior question in either the app or on your computer, and it's really helpful that way. The other thing that you
Hmm.
mentioned when you talk about uploading things, and this is another big caution flag. I talk about it in my AI podcast that I did prior, but I want to mention it again. be very, very careful with uploading private information into chat. It's similar to posting something on the internet. You never really know where that's going to go. So you don't ever, ever, ever want to put into the chat things that are personal and private, such as bank account information, passwords, anything related to like social security and numbers, anything that could later be used against you. And just be very careful, even with sharing too much of your own personal information, like your home address or things like that. These are things that the tool doesn't need to know in order to give you the information back that you're asking for. So, yeah, just be very careful when it comes to uploading your personal information of any sort. And that's my warning and caution on the privacy side. I
Mhm.
want to make sure I bring it up. Okay, so Stephanie, I know the primary area that I've seen your use of artificial intelligence is in your nursing program. You mentioned it at your introduction that you're moving forward with your RN,
Mhm.
and I think this is the most amazing area that you have used chat for in so many
Mhm.
ways in which I haven't. So I'd love for you to share, and I guess we could generalize it. It doesn't have to be an RN program. Anybody who wants to use this tool for education can get a lot of benefits from the things that you're going to say in the next few minutes. So please go ahead and share some of the tools you've used and how it's worked out for you.
Okay, yeah. Actually, as I said in the beginning, this is kind of what led me to get into ChatGPT more than just using it as a search. Um, my program started over the summer pretty much shortly after Chat made some good updates, from what I understand, and improvements. And so I was starting school and needing some help getting some practice questions for tests. Those who have been in nursing school really get this, and I'm sure other degrees too, but our whole grade is basically based on tests. And so you really have to be ready with to answer test questions. And there's just a couple at the end of your chapter. So I really wanted like many more, many more. I just wanted to drill me with test questions, not only to practice taking test questions, but to understand the material better from the results of from learning from taking questions. So I kind of had this idea one day when I had was starting, I had my first kind of bit of material. I was like, I wonder if I can just kind of upload the material I got, which in this case was coming mainly in PowerPoint form or notes that I had taken in class that I had put typed out onto a document. And I thought, I wonder if I can upload my PowerPoints as well as the additional notes that I took and just ask it to quiz me. And I kind of wasn't even sure what to expect, but sure enough, it took a minute to kind of like read the PowerPoint and then um, started spitting out questions. At first, if I recall, it was like quite a few at a time, like 10 questions. And to be clear, I said, ask me multiple choice questions because that's the kind of test question that we get. And I said nursing school questions. When specifically our boards are called the NCLEX. So I said nursing school NCLEX style questions and multiple choice questions. Um, and so I gave them material on this material. And then what's incredible is so it started just gave me like 10 questions at a time. And I was like, oh, wait. And so I started trying to think I had to answer it just like that, like 10 at a time. So I write down 10, B, C, D, and then give them all at once. And I thought, wait a second. I don't learn well like this. I want to answer one question at a time and know if I got it right or wrong, like a flashcard. So I said,
Mm.
well, ask me one question and give me the rationale on like why that is right. And so sure enough, of course, immediately, okay, I'll do that for you. So the next comes up one question and I answer B and it's supposed to be C or whatever, and it will say B was the correct answer because, or even if I got it right, it will say that's right because blah, 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 and tell me why that was right. And so then I started to really learn a lot more because I would read those rationales.
Let me just
Um,
interrupt you for a second. I want to backpedal just a bit. You said that you uploaded a PowerPoint document. Can you just walk through the mechanics of how you actually do that? Like, what's the
Sure.
method?
Yeah, so if you go to the website, first, I don't even think we've said it, but if you just, how do you get to ChatGPT other than on your phone? You can go www.chatgpt.com and it will look kind of like Google, like with a little search engine area where you can type in next to it and a little plus sign next to it. This might look slightly different on your browser, but that's how it looks on mine. Um, Now, if your screen is not fully maximized, you can also, if it's not the full size of the screen, you can still also see other stuff happening on your computer. You can either press that plus button and from there search on your computer and find that PowerPoint or that document and click that's what you want and it will upload it. Or you can, if you can see other things on your computer, you can just click it and drag and drop it right anywhere, right in the general area of that search bar, and it will upload that from there.
Okay. And then when you started to get feedback, I'm getting the impression that it was sort of interactive for you. In other words, you were getting one question, and then how did you respond, and how did it come back to you again? And what is that like? Just so people might get a better picture.
Yeah, so actually, here's an example of it would just, when I said give me one question at a time, it would ask the next question. I would tell the answer. It would give me the correct answer, and then it would stop and say, "Do you want another answer? No, another question." And I would say yes. But then I thought, I'm getting annoyed, not annoyed, but like, are we wasting time here of it asking me to buy not want another question? Yes, I just keep them coming. So I said, just give me the next one automatically. It says, okay, I'll give you one question at a time, automatic. And now I've done this so many times like that, it knows how to ask me the questions. It will give me the one at a time and automatically. And these multiple choice questions, just like I like them every single time, unless I tell it something else. So it's learning from you what you like.
So multiple
Also, I'm
choices.
saying,
Are you saying that? Sorry to interrupt, but are you saying like it says A, B, C, and D, and then you have to pick the letter and just type the letter back into the
yes,
response? Okay.
yes. So
Okay.
you can't click on it, but it will say something like, the person's white blood cell count is such and such and such. This is indicating A, scenario B, scenario three, C. And so I would write in the I would write right back in the response B,
Hmm.
send.
Okay. And then it would
Um,
say, correct. Here's your next question.
yeah, depending on the way you get the question back, it might not be clear, like I still have another question. I don't understand. I don't agree with you, but wait, I thought this. And so I'm literally can write back like, wait, but I thought with infections XYZ, and it will usually come back and explain to me again in other words why it was correct. Occasionally it would say, oh, now that you're asking from that scenario, like in the situation you're talking about is this. In the situation I'm talking about is this. If what you were saying was part of the situation, then yes, you would be right. But without that, I'm right. And so it's very interesting. And also what's very interesting is it's pulling not just from my PowerPoint, but kind of the base of knowledge of nursing questions in general. So it's adding some things that I might have missed in my notes.
Hmm.
And sometimes that can be very helpful, but also sometimes I want it to just stick to my notes. And so I'll say, only stick to what I told you. Do not use outside sources. And or I'll say, walk me through literal questions literally in order, or focus only on like this aspect. Or I might say, make the questions harder. These are too easy. I don't want to be getting 99% of the questions right. I'm not in learning mode, the initial learning mode. I want to really get stumped and think. So I say harder, and then it will give me a harder question, much harder, or scenario based. Make them more scenarios about people. Make them focused on ventilators. And I can really hone in on exactly what I want to drill me in. And I'll say, okay, that's enough about ventilators. Now let's talk about AIDS. And I can direct it to what I want it to do. And then sometimes out of curiosity, I'll say, I feel like I've worked really hard today. How many questions have I answered so far? And it'll sum up, oh,
Oh
you've
my
answered
goodness.
78 questions, and it'll make me feel really good about having worked hard.
Can you, you mentioned earlier when we were chatting about creating an acronym to help you with memory things. Can you just explain that one for the audience, how that was used as a tool again for learning? I guess also I'm just
Yeah,
thinking
so
broadly about the fact that maybe this would be helpful for your fifth grader or
yeah.
somebody else. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so kind of memory tricks, I guess would be the category, is that sometimes it feels like I'm already a saturated sponge and I'm like looking for new ways to get things to stick in my head. And so I'll say to it something like, give me an acronym to remember the 12 cranial nerves, because there's actually some well-known acronyms that you could Google online, but none of them ever stick in my head. But I'm like, give me a funny acronym. Like, I want something funny that every single time I can remember. And so it created one for me. And I'm like, I don't like that one. Give me another one. And I'm like, okay, now I got it.
This could be applicable for even your fifth grade student.
Oh, absolutely. My daughter, who's in fifth, the other night was asking me for some help to review some simple vocab type stuff for a test coming up. And I had the idea that she wasn't very excited about reviewing. It was kind of a boring topic to her. So I thought, hey, you know what kids love are time on the screen, right? So I did the same thing. I uploaded the little sheet we had gotten from school for her. Same way, and asked ChatGPT to quiz her on a fifth grade level. I wrote in there, I need this on a fifth grade level, and this is exactly how I want you to quiz me. I want you to give, in this case, it was descriptions of different biomes. And so, pull from the list of the type of biome and have my daughter, I didn't say, I don't even think I said daughter, have a fifth grader answer which biome it is, give her multiple choice. And she really enjoyed that. She went through a bunch of times and did great on the test. So you can ask it to work on different, levels too. It doesn't have to just be college level by any means.
Mm. Wow, and you're making such good use of this tool. I one thing that's been bugging me in my mind as you've been talking is, does a person have to have a subscription to do all of these things?
Mm.
What is your experience with? I know you're actually temporarily at least subscribing to the service. What does that cost you? Talk about the subscription aspect.
So I think, if I'm not mistaken, there's three tiers. One is free. One is, I believe they call it Plus, which is what I'm doing right now, which is $20 a month. And I think it's professional or something that's maybe $200 a month. Um, what happened
Oh.
was I was doing the free one, and that has all the same capabilities. The problem is just a cap on the amount of usage per day. Um, so it'll hit a limit where you say, you've hit your daily limit, subscribe or wait for X amount of hours to do it again. I think it's a lot like data on a cell phone where you might, anybody who doesn't have an unlimited data plan might hit that you've hit your amount of data. And so I could still ask it basic questions, but it wouldn't answer the type of um, like questions that I was wanting to do for nursing school that were involving reading those documents and then giving me the questions. I might still be able to say, give me an idea of what I can make for dinner. I didn't even try it, but it might be able to do some basic functions. But it was kind of capping at me like two or three documents that I was uploading that I was reading per day. So me as a student, I just see it as this is like a school expense. I mean, I just see it as the same as purchasing a textbook or something. This is a cost for a tool that's helping me get through school. So I have no problem with that. When I'm done with school, we'll see where my usage is at, but I probably will not bother paying anymore.
Mm. Okay, so yeah, so my recommendation for people who are just dabbling in is just to use the tool for free
Hmm.
and to let it tell you about the limit that you've reached. If you happen to be in there asking a series of questions, it may say to you, okay, you've reached a limit at this, what you call it a model. Think about it as a software level in a in and they have to step you down to the next highest model. That's how they kind of incentivize you to become a subscriber. The other way to do this is to split your usage between ChatGPT
Hmm.
and Google, get some use out of the other tools that are out there, and then this way you won't be capping out at the top all the time. You'll be able to keep using it for free for a while at least. So that's, those are suggestions for those that don't want to spend money. Yeah, you're right. You could probably justify it as part of your educational expenses. And some people in the business world are going to be able to justify it easily because it saves them work that they do every day while they're sitting in their job. So for sure.
Oh, I
Okay.
will mention one more use that I think that might be useful for both students and other people too is the ability to upload something and ask it to tell you the key points of that. For example,
Mm,
you could have a long document you don't have time to read or an article or something like that. Ask it, give me the main points in a format. You could even say, give me detailed points, and it will give
mm,
you a little more. That could save a lot of people, time, or even think a student who might need to read. A text and they can read it, but then they need help kind of processing through what were the main points of, you might maybe even be leading a Bible study and you want to figure out what were the main points of this section that I want to kind of build my teaching around. So, I mean, I think it'd be a slippery slope of people then using it for cheating or inappropriate purposes. But I think if we're using it, staying within making sure there's that human element and just being an aid of thinking things through, I think we're still in good territory.
yeah, you made me think of your mom, my wife, has leads a Bible study, and she had a topic that she wanted to uh, write questions for the group to interact with, and so she went and used AI tools to ask it to generate a set of questions based on a particular chapter in the Bible, and then when she saw the responses, she said, "Gee, it's not very personal. Can you make these more personal questions instead of just like fact questions?" And it just revised the questions. And then if she massaged it further to the point where she felt like she could use it in her group discussion. I think she had 10 questions. She probably picked the top five that she wanted out of it and then made good use out of it during the time while she was doing the study. So this is just another educational tool for use. So good
Yeah, and
example.
there's so many. It's amazing the database that it has. Like if you tell it the name of a subject of a book, like it's the name of a book, like it knows my nursing book. So if I say, what does Linda Honan say in chapter 47 about blah blah blah, like it seems to know. It gives me good feedback, and it could probably pick many other mainstream books that you
Hmm.
could say, what is in this book, title author, what are we talking about with this? So it's interesting, very interesting.
It makes me think of another tool that's out there, which is a Google tool, but it's not the AI function you get to search. It's something called Notebook LM, and I've used that tool, and I've taken documents that were of interest to me, and I've uploaded those documents, and it will create a podcast type of format response for you, which will give you like a 6 to 12 minute discussion between two people chatting about the material that you've uploaded. It's just fascinating that there are artificial intelligence voices that will adapt to the topic that you uploaded. And it takes all of maybe 5 to 10 minutes to get that feedback back from the system. So just one more of the many tools that are going to be rolling out as artificial intelligence takes this society by storm. And if you want to get your feet wet on it, this is the place to get started. I do have one more question for you, Stephanie, as we wrap up, and that is, what would you say to the newbie, somebody who's interested in getting involved in using AI for the first time, and they're kind of afraid. I don't know how did I get my feet wet, and if I did, what would I even dabble with? What would you suggest to them that they try first, and how do they get started?
Okay, yeah, I guess I might say either download the app, ChatGPT, or go to the website, www.chatgpt.com, and type right in the search bar something that a problem you might have to have solved. Maybe, like I said, try pasting a text that you might have it edit for you um, right in there, and ask it to perform something for you. Or maybe you'd have a problem to be solved, such as a meal planning, some meal planning ideas, or how much pizza would you suggest I order for a crowd of 21 people? Half of them are teenagers that just played hockey, and so that might change how much pizza you should order. And just interact and say it's going to be, it's going to be Domino's pizza, and they will also have on the side some veggies or something like that. Share something with it that might be a real life scenario that will be more than you would just Google search. And then when it gives you back that answer, or it sends you, maybe if you did the one that was asking it to take a look at an email you were going to send, try interacting back with it and asking it to refine that by maybe saying, make it a little more concise, or add in this, or I didn't like that paragraph, or something like that. Change it up like in this way. Or same thing with the scenario with okay, the pizza sounds good, but we're also going to have had some appetizers. So now what do you suggest? Or what time should I get the pizza if people are going to arrive at whatever time? And just kind of interact back and forth and try starting up that dialogue with it, and just see how you like it. And then maybe get a little farther into trying to upload something like I had said as the next step.
Mm. Oh, great suggestions. Really, really great. Just a reminder to everybody who's watching, this is stuff that we're talking about that can be used completely for free today. And you could take advantage of either chat or the Google equivalent, or there are also Amazon and others have developed tools which I could again remind you to go back and listen to that first artificial intelligence AI discussion that we had published just a few editions ago. And so, Stephanie, I just want to thank you for being on. It's been a real delight to have you. You're always a pleasure to talk with, and just love to have you on the show. So I really want to thank you for your time and energy. And I think maybe we have to tune in to you at the end when you get your completed RN program, so we could. It probably needs to be said because nobody else is. We haven't brought this up. Is Stephanie is like an A student in this program. And so it has really worked out really well for you to be taking advantage of the things. She sometimes struggles with pushing towards 100 versus 95 on her test results because she's always doing it so well. And I think some of that is as a result of the fact that you're not afraid to use the tools that are out there. And I encourage our audience to go ahead and give it a try. Just dabble with it, see what you think. Give me feedback in this show if you think there are things that we haven't talked about or struggles that you've had. Feel free to bring them up in the comments section of the show. Stephanie, once again, thank you so much for being on, and we really enjoyed having you today.
My pleasure. Talk to you later.
Well, thanks for joining me today for Tech Tips for Seniors. Hopefully you found the topic that we talked about in this episode helpful for yourself, and you'd be willing to give it a try. I think the use of artificial intelligence is something that everybody's going to have to dip their toe in the water for. So I hope you find this helpful. And if you do, please share it with a friend, like, and also subscribe to our shows, and you'll be able to listen for more tech tips for seniors or anyone really. Thanks, and have a great day.